Alright then, it's time for a Kennen game. And yes, this is Platinum Solo Queue, and it was off stream. Which one? It's a kind of a funny revelation to me in this game. I actually did far better than I have done when I've been streaming. Like, it's sort of become a notorious thing that when I play top lane and I'm streaming, my CS suffers incredibly. Like, I just can't last hit for shit. But I was playing off stream for the last few days. Like, I've gotten the mojo to play once again, and my CS has improved tremendously. Like, you'll see in this game, like, my last hidden, while still sketchy on some parts, is like kept up with everybody else. Now, I also want to use these videos to sort of rant about a few things. Mostly because the beginning of the game is just me farming versus Sion, and you all know how fucking exciting that could be. So my teammates actually were like, Kennen, like, you know, questioning why I would pick Kennen and then questioning why I wouldn't take teleport. And that's happening all fucking week. Like, a few days ago, or actually 2 days ago, my teammate complained that I had picked Tarek, saying Tarek is a troll champion, Tarek is a terrible champion, that I'm obviously just trying to throw the game. I also played Aatrox top lane, twice actually, and in the first, well, try to. In the one of the games I tried to play top lane, my teammate just said he's a troll pick, don't lock him in. And the second I locked him in, the guy Q-dodged. He really just didn't want me to play Aatrox, apparently. And in the other game, I played Aatrox, and my teammates were saying, you know, it's bad choice, he's weak and everything. But I spent my entire time just sort of split pushing and taking down towers all the way to the enemy inhibitor. I still lost, but it wasn't because of the pick. It was because our team composition wasn't so great when the team fights happened. We got initiated on and just melted. The game lasted forever, though, so to our credit, we had a chance of winning. So that brings up my point here is, like, almost every single time this week I've had somebody question my pick, and I'm not going to doubt that there are some picks that are just flat out weak and need reworks of some sort, but not all champions in this game are bad. In fact, I think most of the champions in this game have reached a point where they have some use or are just flat out good. Just, you know, metagame tends to push them out. Like, I like Kennen. He's one of my favorite top laners, and in fact, one of my, well, actually kind of one of my favorite champions. And he's definitely out of meta and could use a little bit of tuning up, but by far, he can handle himself in the lane, and of course, without teleport, I do my teammates to getting killed by Sion like I did in this case, but it's like when I play Kennen, I feel comfortable. I can pull off CC, I can pull off the pseudo initiation that I'm very used to doing. It's like, it's sort of it's a comfortable thing. It's like, would you really want a player to be playing Riven when they can't play Riven? Would you want them to be playing top lane Sion when they're not comfortable doing so? And as you can see, I don't die to the Sion. I hold my own. I farm at least appropriately for a little while. So it just baffles me that players still kind of make a big deal about this. And true, also, I kind of got a question as to why I was going to buy it. I build AD, and I still kind of do when I stream. They're like, why would you build AD on Kennen? I'm like, this is kind of what you need to do early on in the game because his glass hitting is kind of terrible without it, and the amount of harass he can pull out is great. Nonetheless, though, I do like Kennen. He's very safe to play. He can farm. He can punish people for mistakes, and you guys all know how much of a stiffy I get for those kind of punishing champions. So it's all good, but it's puzzling. Like, I picked Tarek against a mostly pure AD comp. They had only Fiddlesticks as their AP champion, and everybody else was, everybody else was physical. So it's like my teammate was yelling at me for picking Tarek, and I'm like, it makes sense. They're all physical, and I can't play anybody else except Soraka, and I don't think she would be appropriate in this team comp. We won definitely, and I did feel like I helped a lot in that game, even though I did some silly things here and then. The Aatrox game, same thing. Like, a lot of players to say, is Aatrox a bad champion? And honestly, I would say Aatrox is by far not a bad champion. He's just more suited for a split push farm heavy meta. If the meta became split push heavy again, you will see a rise of Aatrox. You will see him be top lane and just melt things. Perhaps not as a jungler, because as a jungler, he kind of suffers a lot right now. But as a top laner, hell, put him up against a matchup that can't burst him down. Put him up against a matchup that will abandon their lane and will just let Aatrox run amok. He'll dominate. And I've had that so far in the few time, well, in the one time I managed to play them. It was just really sad. They couldn't stop me, and anytime they came up there, I either eluded them or I flat out killed them when they performed it badly. There's one scene where the enemy Udyr and the enemy Sejuani like try to get me in a 2v1, and I just instantly slammed them and murdered them both in one go. And it was ridiculous. My CS was about 50 more than the next highest one. And, I took 3 towers and was close to taking an inhibitor. And I loved it. At one point, the Udyr, who actually got pretty fed throughout the game, came to fight me one-on-one. And he got pretty much blasted onto his ass. It wasn't even close. It's just, people got to realize that Riot has gone to the point where the only champions that are right now, like, bad are champions that haven't kept up. Their kits haven't evolved with the game. Like back then they may have been good or they may still have some purpose, but overall their kits are just either too toxic because they're antiquated or too useless because again they're antiquated. Like Warwick's kit, it was good before. It made sense with how limited a lot of things of the gameplay was. But now, with everybody having some form of escape, some form of gap closer, some form of CC that can be just used to disrupt it, Warwick is falling out of favor. And that's why he's getting an update. Skarner used to be strong when not everybody had a gap closer, for instance. Olaf and Tryndamere need to get their ultimates completely redone or else they will never be in a balanced state. It's just those kinds of things. But most champions have those metas where they shine, they're glorious, or they have those certain matchups where they're very great. Like, you've seen my Garen games. I'll pick Garen into a matchup that I dominate and I completely destroy that lane and then just go crazy on the enemy team. By the way, in this part, I'm going to actually use my ultimate as a fat finger by pure accident. I felt really stupid when I did it. Nonetheless, as I was pointing out, or at least trying to say, I actually got yelled at for picking Aatrox, and it was odd. Like, it actually reminded me of a time a little bit ago where I picked, not Aatrox, not Vel'Koz either. Kha'Zix. I'm stupid. Kha'Zix. I played Kha'Zix 3 games in a row. Not in a row, but in the same day. One of them was off stream and 2 was streaming. In one of the streamed games, I maxed out Q, which is apparently what you're supposed to do now. And then in another game, I maxed out W first because the enemy team had no mobility and we were just kind of supposed to group up and sort of push things down. And I thought, shooting them from a distance would work out. And I actually got yelled at by my teammates and one stream viewer for having done that. It's like, you're not supposed to do that. And I'm thinking to myself, a little while ago, if you maxed out Q before W, you get yelled at. And then before that, it was the other way around. And then the other way around. And it keeps switching around back and forth. And I'm just thinking to myself, you know what? The game said people need to remember that certain things happen. Oh, actually, by the way, here's what I pointed out. It was funny. I was going in with my ultimate, and I got silenced by the fiddlesticks as I was going in. So it was kind of a little cock block. It still worked out. I killed 3 people. And then I chased after I missed 1 Q. And I go after the Tristana, I get knocked back, and sort of I go into my little stasis field. I flash forward thinking I still had the W, but it turns out I didn't, and I got killed. Anyways, back to what I was saying. It still kind of bothers me that people don't really know that, some champions have a little bit more versatile kits, and there's little workarounds you can do that might be different from the norm, but they'll work in the situations if a situation presents itself, right? Like, I've played in one team comp, I played a Mumu. I was a Mumu, and the enemy team had no Kank, no fat dude to block them. They were all squishy, delicious people. And I noticed that as a Mumu, and I was thinking, my team is a completely insta-gib comp. We had, I believe it was Annie, it was me as a Mumu. We had, I think it was Yasuo, top lane was Nunu, and the support was something, I don't remember. Well, I think the AD was Graves. There we go. So support Annie, Graves, top Nunu, and mid Yasuo. And instead of going tank, I decided to go full AP. And my teammates were mad because they were losing their lanes, and I guess they used me as a scapegoat in the beginning to say, oh, if you were tank, we'd have a higher chance of winning. But I figured that was for pure bullshit. Fortunately, when we got to team fights, our wombo combo came true. The second I went in and my ultimate did a lot of damage, and the rest of my team followed, we just obliterated them, and it went on and on and on like that for the entire game. It was insta-giving. And I know, like, Holy Hand Grenade Amumu, you know, the APM Amumu works out. It's proper. It makes sense, and pro players have used it. So I was kind of weirded out that these players were having a problem with it. But in a situation like this, you know, Tank Amumu tends to be the norm, or at least, you know, one AP item Amumu tends to be the norm. In this case, I decided to go full-on glass cannon AP Amumu, and it worked out. And I guess it might be a problem in which you can't really voice your concerns, opinions, or ideas to your teammates rather easily when you're in the moment of action, or before you even enact, even before you start buying it and start, you know, force yourself into that path. So maybe that'd be an issue, but it still doesn't matter. Anyways, you can see in this game, like, we've gotten to the point where we can easily pick them off, and our CC overwhelms them. They have some champions that are top tier right now, but my team comp just destroys them. The amount of CC we have obliterates their front line, and they're unable to protect their carries. So we'll just go in and tear them to pieces. Like, watch right here. I don't even know why Tristana was here. I go in, Fiddlesticks is ulting, and I just kind of ignore him, and I go straight for the Tristana. We CC her to hell, and she pretty much gets absolutely obliterated. I love this Nautilus. I saw some of the way he uses abilities, and they were glorious. That's just like pro level. Either way, here we just kind of, since we're diving, we're kind of in a bad situation and we're trying to escape. I get killed. I'm not going to survive this, but the rest of my teammates get a tower out of this. Jarvan is completely by himself, so he's pretty much going to give themselves a free kill. The enemy team is not playing to their strengths, and honestly, you can't do it easily. Like, all their front line champions kind of just burst into the fray, right? And my team has a lot of disengage. Well, not disengage, but a lot of counter engage and a lot of engage of our own. So the second the front line goes in, they leave their back line exposed, and we just tear them to pieces. They don't. Sion isn't the greatest bodyguard out there, and Jarvan is building himself more AD, more like, you know, a fighter. Of course, he's building randoms, but that's coming out a little bit too late at this point. So Jarvan's whole job right now seems to be diving in, and Sion really can't protect anybody that goes in. So that's why Nautilus just kind of gets to walk right into the enemy team and CC them and cause a fray, and I get to join in with my Bolt Tackle and just absolutely disrupt the flow. I get silenced and then I get fear, so I can't use my hourglass fast enough. So I'm unfortunately going to get killed right here, but you saw the amount of CC we were able to enact on the enemy team, and we just completely obliterated them. My carries are protected. Even if I die or the Nautilus dies, and it will be all too well. Just, we have, like, it's essentially, my team comp is like having tanks in the front line and artillery in the back. The enemy team is just getting annihilated. By the way, I don't even know why they didn't take this tower. It's gonna stay up for like the rest of the game. So as you can see, it's just the enemy team just can't do anything. The amount of CC we have is ridiculous, and I love it. We are essentially playing lower tier, quote unquote, champions right now, while the enemy team has a lot of the top tier champions. Fiddlesticks mid withholding, right, and Soraka withholding too. So once again, though, you just see how I play my part. Here, you saw I warded the Wraiths. That was for a good reason. I feel two things were going to happen. Either we were going to fight for Dragon, or we were going to push mid. And in that case, I figured Fiddlesticks would use the Wraith location to jump us with his ultimate. And voila, you can see him walking into position. And that's why my team is not that close to the wall. And as soon as he goes in, I throw a Shuriken to start up the charge to hopefully stun him before he does any of the shenanigans. He just blinks in a really bad position because I think he knew he was going to get stunned. And as a result, the front line once again gets completely wasted and exposes Tristana, and she stands no chance at all. Rewind that fight again to see it. We prepared ourselves for the Fiddlesticks. He panicked because he knew he was outplayed, and it was no longer effective. The enemy front line melted, and we got the back line and destroyed him. Hooray for Team Kennen!